All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're putting two cloud heavyweights in the ring, AWS Autoscaling and Azure Autoscale. We're going to break down which one saves you more money, which one gives you more power, and most importantly, which one is the right fit for your business. So let's dive in. Now, you might think autoscaling is some kind of niche, super technical thing, right? Well, think again. A staggering 85% of companies are already using it. It's not just a nice-to-have anymore, it's an absolutely essential tool. And that's exactly why understanding the differences between the big players is so critical. So, what's the big problem we're trying to solve here? Well, it's kind of like the Goldilocks dilemma, but for the cloud. If you set up too few servers, your app grinds to a halt and your users get super frustrated. That's under-provisioning. But if you set up too many, you're literally just burning cash on servers that are sitting around doing nothing. That's over-provisioning. Autoscaling is the magic that gets it just right, all on its own.
Okay, so let's meet our contenders. And believe me, they come from the undisputed titans of the cloud.
Just look at this. Between the two of them, AWS and Azure own more than half of the entire cloud market. It's huge. So when we're talking cloud infrastructure, these are the two you absolutely, positively have to know inside and out. You know, at a high level, they really do have different personalities. Think of AWS Autoscaling as the seasoned pro, the industry standard. It gives you this incredible, fine-grained control over every little detail, which DevOps teams totally love. On the other side, you've got Azure Autoscale. It's the fast-growing challenger, and its superpower, it plays so well with the whole Microsoft enterprise world. If you're running on Windows or have a hybrid setup, Azure is designed to make your life easier. Okay, time to get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to go head-to-head on the stuff that really matters: policies, pricing, and peer power. First things first, how do you actually tell these things when to scale up or down? I mean, what are the rules of the game? Well, that's all handled by something called scaling policies. Okay, so here's the deal. Both of them totally nail the basics. You know, stuff like simple scaling, which is basically, if my CPU hits 80%, add a couple of servers. Easy. And scheduled scaling, like, hey, add more machines every weekday morning at 9 a.m. But this is where AWS starts to pull ahead. It has something called target tracking, which is amazing. You just tell it, my goal is to keep CPU usage around 40%, and AWS handles all the messy details of how to get there. It also has step scaling for even more complex rules. So yeah, when it comes to flexibility in your policies, AWS definitely has the edge. All right, let's talk about my favorite subject, and probably yours too: saving a ton of money. So how can you use autoscaling to seriously cut your cloud bill? The magic word here is spot instances.
If you haven't used spot instances before, oh man, they are a game changer. Think of it like this. They're all the spare, empty servers sitting in a cloud provider's data center. To make some money off them, they sell them off at a crazy discount. We're talking up to 90% off. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The cloud provider can snatch them back with very little warning if someone comes along who's willing to pay full price.
So the good news is both AWS and Azure are smart about this. They let you mix and match. You can have a bunch of those super cheap spot instances running alongside your regular, full-price, reliable machines all in the same group. It's the best of both worlds. You get massive cost savings but still have a safety net. Azure is a little late to the game on this one, but to be fair, they do offer it now, which is great. But this is where things get really interesting, because it's not just about if you can use Spot. It's about what happens when that instance gets yanked away from you. And the crucial difference here is all about how much of a heads up you get. Okay, with AWS, you get 2 full minutes, a 2-minute warning before your server disappears. And in the world of computing, 2 minutes is an eternity. It's plenty of time for your application to finish up what it's doing, save its work, and shut down nice and clean. And then there's Azure. With Azure, you get just 30 seconds. That's it. That 90-second difference is absolutely massive. Trying to get everything wrapped up and shut down gracefully in just 30 seconds is, well, it's really, really tough. It makes using Azure Spot instances a much riskier bet for a whole lot of applications.
Okay, let's talk about one more killer feature that has a huge impact on both cost and just plain availability. What if you're flexible? What if you don't care about the exact type of machine you get, as long as it has the horsepower you need?
This is another place where AWS just shines. They have this incredible feature called Mixed Instances Policies. Basically, you can tell your autoscaling group, look, I need a machine with, say, 16 CPUs. I don't really care if it's a C5.4XL or an M5.4XL, just get me one. And then AWS goes out and finds the cheapest or most available one for you at that exact moment. You can even use weights to mix in different sizes, like saying one giant machine is worth 2 medium ones. It's an unbelievably powerful way to hunt for the best deals on spot instances, and honestly, it's something only AWS can do right now.
All right, we've hit the big ticket items. Now let's dive into some of the devilish details. You know, the kind of pro tips that can save you a world of pain down the road.
And here's a big one. It's a critical, often missed detail about how AWS decides which of your servers gets the axe when it's time to scale down. And trust me, getting this wrong can lead to some very unexpected results.
So, it's a two-step dance, and the first step always wins. Before AWS even glances at your rules, like terminate the oldest machine, its number one priority is keeping things balanced across its data centers, what they call availability zones or AZs. So first, it finds the AZ that has the most servers, then, and only then, it looks at your rule and applies it inside that one specific zone. What does that mean for you? It means AWS might kill a brand new server in a crowded AZ before it touches a much older server in a less crowded one, all in the name of balance. That's a super important detail to keep in your back pocket.
And while we're on the topic of being smart and proactive, let's talk about another huge differentiator, predictive scaling. This is a seriously cool AWS feature. It uses machine learning to look at your past traffic, finds patterns, and then scales up before the rush even happens, like for that daily 9 a.m. spike. It's proactive, not reactive. It's getting ready for the party before the guests arrive. And right now, Azure just doesn't have a native feature that does this.
Okay, so we've looked at policies, we've looked at saving money, and we've dug into some of the tricky details. So, who's the winner? Let's pull it all together for the final verdict.
You know, the truth is, the best choice really comes down to who you are and what you're doing. If you're a startup or you're building a brand new app from scratch, AWS is probably your champion. Its flexibility and maturity are just unmatched. And if your number one goal is saving every last penny, again, AWS's amazing handling of spot instances gives it a real edge. But if you're a big enterprise that's already running on Microsoft everything, Azure is often the path of least resistance. The integration is just so much smoother, and that's especially true if you're in a heavily regulated industry where compliance is king.
So in the end, it really all boils down to one simple question you have to ask yourself. What does my work truly demand? Do you need that raw maximum flexibility and fine-grained control that only AWS can give you? Or is your top priority that seamless, smooth integration into an enterprise world that Azure has mastered? The answer to that question, well, that's what will tell you who wins your cloud showdown.